Kobayashi, meanwhile...
Give them some breathing space, won't it?
Absolutely right.
It's very difficult to do here because of the length of the lap. Although we don't get the safety cars that we used to. We've had 2 full course yellows today, which I'm very, very surprised about.
Next question here is going to be about whether or not Spa-Francorchamps can catch James Jakes. And if he can he catch him before Richard Bradley catches him? So those 2 cars certainly catching the lead car. Slow lap with traffic for James last time around in the 2:18, 2:13 and 2:12 respectively for the 36 and 45 behind. But a much, much, much better day for the Manor WEC team after a difficult debut. The home race at Silverstone, both cars in early trouble. But running 1-3 here is a very impressive response to that.
Right, coming down to half distance, Graham. Trying to pick out the gaps and the battles on the track end. Senna still closing in on Chris Cumming. 3 seconds out of him last lap, and it's down to within 3 seconds. Projecting about 166 laps this year. The distance record here was last year, and what we believed at that time, and still haven't been able to find anything different, was the fastest and longest 6-hour race ever.
Wow.
Which was 176 laps here.
These races come at us thick and fast now, don't we? And we do love it, the 6-hour discipline.
That means, by the way, if we do go to that, Brendan Hartley and the #1 team are going to have to get about another 55 laps from one they've got now
to get points.
To get within 70%. So write those numbers down, because I'll have forgotten them by the end of the race. It's half distance at Spa, round 2, the FIA World Endurance Championship. Toyota lead Audi from Toyota. Only the lead 2 cars are on the lead lap, and the gap between Anthony Davidson and Loic Duval is growing. In LMP2, Manor, the new boys, have James Jakes in the lead by just over 20 seconds from the Alpine of Spa-Francorchamps. In the 36 car, Richard Bradley is another 23 seconds further back. In the GT category, it's still the 51 from the 71. 71 on pole, but Jimmy Bruni got to the lead, and despite now the pit stops, James Collado in the 51 car continues to lead now by almost 30 seconds from the pole sitters. Sam's out and Dave's in now. David Rigon in the 71 car. Stefan Mucker leads the Porsche. Check that, leads the Ford 3-4. And then, as far as the AM's concerned, I don't think the 98 car's been headed, and has a decent lead on David Hennemeyer Hansen in Porsche number 88, who has 22 seconds on Emmanuel Collard in the number 83 Ferrari.
It has, because Aguas, remember, took the lead at the start of the race and had that clash with Bruno Franchitti. Meantime, that Kobayashi is now almost with Duval to unlap the 6 Toyota from the 8 Audi and get onto that same lap. It's not quitting, is it, John?
No.
It's not quitting. It's a different sort of 6-hour race this time around. It has been far more led by incident, accident, a little bit of unreliability from a number of cars hitting trouble more than once, rather than just wheel-to-wheel racing, but no less engaging. Anthony Davidson goes through 82 laps now under the wheels of the number 5 car, still pushing on, still the fastest man out there into the 201s, against the 208 last time around from Loic Duval. And
I don't think that number 8 car is all it should be.
I think we're going to see those 2 cars, the number 8 Audi and number 6 Toyota, together next time around, and that will be Kobayashi looking to get by the Audi to get onto the same lap as the second place car.
I had a question from Ryan And by the way, I did it again. I do it once every race, called Bruno Ayrton.
You did. Sorry.
I have to do it every race.
It's the law.
Ryan has asked about any BOP adjustments that are made here in FIA WEC for, let's say, Le Mans. Would they carry through to GT cars in IMSA? And the answer is no. That's not the right line through there, is it?
Slightly ambitious.
And that is.
Was that just a loss of concentration from Bruno, do you think? It looked like that.
Yeah, he was right up behind Chris Cumming. He got his way to within 0.2 of a second. Could have been a bit of aero push, you know, being right under the rear wing. Turned in for the fast left-hander at Paul Frere. And then just couldn't get it turned in.
David,
sorry, just to finish the thought, any BOP that was applied, let's say, to a Ford or a Porsche here in GTE Pro, any IMSA or a Ferrari, any IMSA cars coming to compete at Le Mans would get that BOP.
Correct.
But they're running a different BOP over there anyway. All of the GTE cars, the GTLM as it's called in IMSA, they are not running to the same performance parameters as here, because they are all slowed down more because of the interim prototype class being the prototype challenge cars.
Absolutely right. This is the battle, well, effectively for what could emerge the battle for second place, because this is Kamui Kobayashi in the Toyota, closing in. He's third, closing in on the second place car ahead. That's the Audi, trying to deal with the traffic, does so now at the inside of the Ferrari, but this is not actually for position. This is the Toyota trying to get himself onto the same lap as the Audi. So he's just over 7 kilometres behind this car, but has to get by first before he starts to nibble into that deficit. And he's looking to do that as quickly as possible. Been catching the Audi at roughly 2 seconds a lap for much of the last stint. So this is the 6 car fighting back after a couple of issues. Does so now, goes by the Audi, comes through the bus stop, does that nice, neat and tidily. Will deal with the Golf Porsche rapidly too as the two cars come down towards the source. The Audi looking to go by there on the outside, does so. And
let's go down to the pit lane. As I can tell you, Hoping Tung's the latest driver to be warned for track limits in the 35 Alpine. Buemi with Louise Bates.
Well, Sebastian's keeping an eye on what Anthony's doing out there, but looking back at your stint, you had some amazing battles.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. Obviously, we were expecting to be a bit better in the race compared to qualifying. It looked like even, you know, the first stint we were quite competitive. Obviously, we took the decision to do a double stint with the tires, and that was hard. Would have been a very tight fight towards my end of the second stint with the Porsche, but they had the puncture. So I'm quite happy to see that the overall performance is much better than in Silverstone. We are really fighting in, you know, with the big guys. So now we need to make sure we finish the race and don't have any problems.
Okay, thank you.
Louise there, reporting, thank you, very hot in the pit lane with the sun streaming down there. We'll get a little bit of respite in a wee while when the sun goes down far enough to get a bit of shadow there, but not for a while yet. And with just under 3 hours still to go, Graham, there's still a lot going on here. So just to underline what we were saying about the balance of performance in GT, for example, everybody being very careful not to attract too much interest here, and they don't want to have a change in their balance of performance before they go to Le Mans in a few weeks' time. A big crowd on hand to witness the start of the FIA World Endurance Championship Round 2. Over 56,000 at Spa-Francorchamps as we lined up the most technically advanced racing cars in the world to get the green lights, and down to La Source, the usual bun fight with the front row locked out by Porsche. It was in the LMP2 midfield where there were issues. A tap on the left rear, a problem for the SMP number 37.
You just have to manage this to the end, unfortunately.
And already problems in the early going for the number 2 Porsche with no hybrid system, but Mark Lieb and his teammates doing a great job to hold on to 4th position, albeit 3 laps off the lead. All of the major manufacturers took their turn at the front of the field. The Toyota TS050, TS050 from Toyota Gazoo Racing, gambling on the slightly harder of the Michelin slick tyre compounds. The hot weather played into their hands and they were able to race to the front of the field, but not getting it all their own way as the Audis fought back for a short while at least. Double stint on the first tyres gave a 30-second advantage in the pit stop to the number 5 Toyota. They took the lead, and apart from a bit of a dice, that was a lead that they have not relinquished since. In GT, Rui Aguas and Marino Franchitti coming together. 2 cars in GT, but in different classes. A mistake by Mike Conway cost the number 6 Toyota a drive-through, and yes, that was the 37 again that was hit. But after that drive-through, Mike and his teammates have fought their way back to 3rd position. Problems at the head of the field when the number 5 was leading, but just about held on to that as the Porsche came through for a few yards, but then the Toyota hybrid power taking over and the lead swapping back again. All looking good for the number 1 at this stage after their problems at Silverstone, but it wouldn't be long before that car was pushed back into the garage. First punctures and then a front gearbox issue on the hybrid drive to the front axle. But it wasn't just Toyota and Porsche having problems. A second puncture for the number 1 before it disappeared at the pits, and Aston Martin, Nicky Team getting a tap from Simon Dolan for which he served a penalty. Nicky Team walking away from the rollover accident. Number 1 Porsche in the pit lane, the number 7 Audi in the box with problems to the floor, and then having to fight back now in 12th position overall, 7th in class. At the head of the field, it's Anthony Davison who leads by 33 seconds on Loic Duval and Kamui Kobayashi in 3rd position.
Well, we're back on board with the leader. It's a bit of a spin there for one of the 2 Alpines. That's the 36 car. That's the 2nd place car. Stefan McElmey has had a spin at La Source, recovers the car and continues, but troubles 2 for Straka. Reported losing oil out of the circuit. We'll see what happens here. That was a hit from an Audi. That was a hit from an Audi.
Which Audi?
Now, which of the 2 cars was that? That, I'm pretty certain, was the 7 car, John.
Well, that was the car that, this is the car that caused the problem at the start of the race, the 36. This was the car that tapped the...
No, 35.
You sure?
Yes.
I thought they had different stickers on the front. Let's have a listen to Toyota.
The Straka car is putting oil everywhere. I think they have an oil leak.
Right, that's Anthony Davison. Now that's interesting because Louise Davison is down at Straka, and it looks like they might be expecting the 42 in shortly. In fact, it's in the pit lane now with Johnny Kane. Louise?
Yeah, I'd just like to say I haven't married Anthony Davison at any point. Yes, sorry, back to it. Straka are in the garage. I'm walking back down there now to see them, but Anthony's obviously explained they've got some issues going on.
Anthony,
thank you.
Anthony's also explained that she's not married him to...
It's in Belgium, anything could happen.
Absolutely. I think he sounded quite disappointed that she wasn't married to Anthony Davidson there, I thought, for a moment.
Same height.
There is the Straka car, the 42 car in the garage, with the team looking the rear of the car. But Davidson looking sounding pretty certain that there was the problem. Dan Walmsley there, team principal at Straka Racing. And that looked pretty rueful from one or two of the crew. 67 Ford comes through to complete another lap. This is the car in the hands now of Harry Tinknell. Second appearance for Ford of a planned 3. Of course, Le Mans being the 3rd for the young Englishman. He's got sparkling form in sports cars, but with the exception, I think, a single run in Nissan GTR GT3 car, the Ford, his first foray into GT racing. Here's the 36 car. There you go. I'm afraid that's the evidence, all the evidence you need. It was indeed the number 7 car with damage to the front right light cluster and front pod of the 7 car. That car is going to be coming into the garage, John.
Well, it's the right one for Audi, isn't it?
We see it again here.
Bottom right of the screen.
Yeah.
It's just another misjudgment, isn't it, by the driver behind. And if there's any consistency, then it will have to be a drive-through for 7 for Marcel Fessler.
Their day is going from bad to worse, isn't it? So Marcel Fessler, Marcel Fessler is, I think he's lost that light pod now. That light pod is out on the circuit somewhere. He was flailing around on the end of one cable. And what's happening here? This is the 6 car.
This is going to go back into the pits, I think,
Louise.
Louise.
Garage.
Surely, yes, it is. Obviously, I don't know if you can see the pictures right now. There's a little bit of damage on the right-hand side.
It looks like something scraped along the side of that car, Louise. It looks like, if you remember back to Goldfinger, it does look like Sean Connery's Aston Martin has gone down the side of it with the Boudica-style wheel spinners on his DB5. It's exactly what's happened. Unbelievable. Someone's had the mechanical can opener out there. Well, what could have caused that, Graham? Side-by-side contact with a chariot.
Chariot? I was just about to say.
And let's go back to Louise.
The number 7 Audi is definitely not his day. It's got heavy damage to the front of that car with the front light coming off.
That's the car that involved with the clash of the 36 at La Source last lap around. Well, the light cluster is still attached. That is one hefty bit of cable. But,
this is just a hole where the light cluster should have been, although, as Graham rightly said, it's hanging.
Just looks
drive-through penalty for the Emmanuel Collard 83 car.
That's the 2nd car sitting in 3rd position in class that's had a drive-through. Well, exactly enough. This won't quite be enough, I don't think. Put the 50 car back up there. Is this where we got no, that's earlier. That's the earlier issue.
This is the incidents today. We've had light clusters going all over the place. Mike Conway first of all on the 37 SMP, and then a moment or two ago, Marcel Fessler on the Alpine. Oh dear. That's a very good job being done.
66 also a drive-through. That is the 3rd place car in GT Pro. Will also be getting a drive-through. Now, the happy news for Ford, at least, is that the next most likely car to profit from that is the sister 67 car, Harry Tinknell at the wheel of that car. I think we're getting the information from the pits as well, John, that it does look as if it might well be terminal. It looked that way with the body language at Straka, that the 42 car may go no further.
Are you ready for Le Mans?
Oh, God.
We've only had 3 hours and 15 minutes. It wouldn't even be my turn to be on the radio yet.
8 times this.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't have been on yet, and you know, with almost twice as many cars.
Well, I'll say this much, John. After 6 hours of racing at Silverstone, after just over 3 hours of races here, I'm deadly serious. If you fancy an outside punt on a bet on the Le Mans 24 hours, I'd be looking towards the 12 and 13 cars right now, because it does seem, doesn't it?
It's not what you get for them to be on the podium.
Well,
each way bet on the podium.
Astounding couple of races so far. In 2 is the LMP2 leading car, the 44 car. Driver change there as well. James Jakes is out of that car. I think that's Tor Graves' helmet climbing aboard. We've not seen Tor yet aboard this car. Of course, Tor coming back to the World Endurance Championship after time with Delta ADR in the early years of the WEC.
Simon Riley's asking, any idea why the Toyota team is called Toyota Gazoo Racing? It's a very long story. I'll give you the short version. Toyota Gazoo is the Japanese version of Toyota Racing, and it is being developed into a brand in its own, something similar to AMG or Alpina M Sport Quattro for Audi. The Gazoo name itself comes from when Mr. Toyota first started. One of the major innovations that they had very long time ago, miles ahead of its time, was virtual showrooms.
Right.
And the pictures of the cars were called Gazoo, and that's where the Gazoo comes from.
There you go. So
it's a very short version of it.
So we've had the 83 car from third in GT Am down pit road for its drive-through. Manu Collard, of course, stayed in the car. No stops, no changes allowed. We've had both the Manor cars in, now running first and second in LMP2. Tor Graves has indeed taken the 44 car out, but the engine cover is coming off the 45, the second place car.
No.
Or is it the rear clip? It's the rear clip by the look of it. So damage perhaps to the back end of the 45 car. Where is the third place car? Well, Gustavo Menezes has gone through into second position again after that clunk at La Source.
Number 6, and the damage on the side of that number 6. Somebody trying to tell me that was from the incident.
It did have damage. It didn't look as bad damage.
37, but I think that was the other side. That was the other side. It was the left side that was damaged, wasn't it, when he ran into the back of the 37?
It was the right side. It was, when we saw the replay, I looked at the damage. It definitely was in the same area, but has definitely got worse.
They connected twice then, in that case, right. They put some tape on it earlier on, I think, but...
Well, of course, the kind of speeds we're talking about here, any kind of damage to any panel might well be accentuated just by aerodynamic effect, John. They're not designed to have holes in them.
No.
And ripping can occur.
Right, oil leak on that number 8. Oil leak, sorry, 6 on the number 6 on that Kobayashi car. So something underneath there has had a damage. So whether that was caused by that initial impact or whether it's something that's been affected since then. This has come from the Toyota PR, Alistair Moffat. So Alistair Moffat reporting the 6 car with an oil leak, which is why it's back in the box.
We have repaired the bodywork. I will update you about the tire strategy.
So updated the bodywork. We'll update you about the tyre strategy, is what we heard there.
Past the RFID readers at the end of pit road and back out onto track. Stefan Serrazan rejoins, and Stefan now, having lost all that advantage and way more, falls behind both Rebellions, 13 and 12 up to 4th and 5th. Toyota, Audi, Porsche, Rebellion, 1, 2, 3, 4. Topsy-turvy stuff in the FIA World Endurance Championship. Paolo Roberti, meanwhile, up to 3rd. Manu Collard to 2nd.
That's because of the...
No, that's because Khaled Al-Cabeza, rather the 88 cars, made its latest pit stop.
Correct.
But Collard, who sits ahead of him, will have to stop.
I think he's done his stop because he's not got 5 against everyone else's 4 or 3. It's hard to keep track of this because so many people have had penalties now. There's been more penalties here than the end of the European soccer season. So go to the number 8, the leading of the 2 Audis, like Duval.
Prepare Oli to be ready for really bad stint.
Get Ollie ready. Prepare Ollie to be having a really bad stint. Is what he's just...
So are we going to hear post-race of whatever problem we believe that car might be carrying? Well... think Toyota are going to live to rue the day that Mike Conway had that issue.
Right, let's have a listen to the leader, Andy Davidson, behind the wheel of Toyota Gazoo Racing number 5.
There's a lot more vehicles instead of tyres for some reason.
There's a lot more pickup on this set of tyres, did he say there, for some reason?
Yeah, something on those tyres for some reason.
The sun goes behind a very black cloud.
This is where track temperatures will start. Well, if not to tumble.
Just an update on the number 1, the world champions, by the way. I reckon they've got about another 5 minutes to get that car out. If it's not out by 6 o'clock local time, they are not going to be able to do the laps to get that car classified. Back in the number 6.
It's going back in the garage. 6 is going back into the garage.
Oh my goodness me. So now none of the leading manufacturers have 2 bullets in the gun.
Well,
none of them have got
in terms of
a
attacking, absolutely right. Porsche cannot attack this race. Porsche can't attack the race. Their surviving car.
Let's go back to the number 5 car. This is Andy Davison.
Hey Anthony, your pace is looking good. Your pace is looking good. Audi is much slower. And the gap increasing. Okay, I'll calm it down. I was already taking it quite easy, but I'll stay off the curbs and stuff.
Well, that's not what the guys at Yoast Racing want to hear. I'll calm it down. I was already taking it quite easily. Well, it's keeping off the curbs now. He's 2 and 3 seconds a lap quicker.
He is.
And the gap is now 100 seconds.
So he is something less than 30 seconds away from putting a lap on the second place car. This is not a script that would have been believable at any point during last season, John.
No.
Now, okay, their run thus far has certainly been assisted by issues from more or less every other car in the field, but this is mightily impressive stuff. And I come back from Toyota with the TS050 and coming into the Le Mans 24 hours, and we've still got 2.5 hours more to go in this race. Even if it's stopped right here and now, Toyota must be mightily encouraged with their progress they've made. Back to P2, and these are the lead 2 cars, and this is the lead battle. 44 in the hands of Tor Graves, fending off, but for how much longer? Gustavo Menezes, one of the quickest silver drivers out there, in the 36 Signatech Alpine. 44, Mana Orica leads 36 Signatech Alpine, and that is going to change very soon indeed. Bruno Senna, by the way, is now up to 3rd position after the longer stop for the 45 car, which is rejoined, by the way, hands down Matt Rao. David Cheng is running 4th in the second of the Alpines, the Baxi DC car. They are the final 4 in the top 10, behind the 6 P1 cars that at the moment form the top 6, but with Stefan Sarrazin in the garage again in the number 6 Toyota. And hearing from Andy T, thank you very much, at Fraz3Alpha on Twitter, that the radio message was more deg on these tyres. Not more pickup, more deg on these tyres. And we know this is particularly punishing on the rubber. Here again, Menezes looking for a way through. And past Tor Graves. Tor, bit of a wily old fox in LMP2. He's no mean peddler himself. And he'll be putting all the tricks out of the book he possibly can. Left-hand indicator is going on the Orica, but I don't think that's intended. Certainly not letting him through. So this is battle for 7th position overall and for the LMP2 lead. Matters very, very much indeed to these 2 teams. It would either way be a first if it lasted this way till the end, or the other way around, it would be a first win for Mana WEC. And it would be a first win for the coupe version of the Alpine for Signatech.
So just underlying Gazoo was Akio Toyoda. First spin-off business, the auto website, was called Gazoo. Miles ahead of his time he was. That's why Gazoo Racing. So into the pits still in the pits for the Toyota of Stefan Saras.
Wheel to wheel stuff. That was Tor Graves toughing it out. Gustavo Menezes very aggressive indeed through La Source. Slight delay there for the Manor car with the traffic caused by the number 88 Porsche.
I think I'd be a bit
Tor Graves
upset.
was having nothing of that.
I think I'd be a bit upset if I was Menezes there. He was alongside him and was being pushed into the pit wall there quite aggressively. I really don't like to see that, Graham. It's one of my pet hates. The big black cloud continues to take the heat of the sun from this part of the racetrack, but over at Les Combes and diving down toward Bruxelles, it's still shining on the track surface. You can see the clouds in the distance there from Anthony Davidson's on board going through the final corners.
Andre Lotterer, by the way, back into the top 10. And again, the recovering Audi is about to take a significant position because the next target, and he's going to take that target, is going to be the number 6. The Toyota still stationary and going to be dropping out the top 10 in the next few moments.
4th place LMP2 car, the Alpine number 35, has its pit stop under investigation. What is going on today? Has everyone forgotten how to go motor racing? I've never seen so many pieces of paper with stewards' decisions on.
I think this race epitomises why I hate being asked to predict the result of an endurance race. And who's to say we're not going to see equal drama in the last 2.5 hours?
Well, I was going to say, it's by no stretch of the imagination is it over yet.
Let's go through. Let's brief through the class leaders. 2.5 hours remain. It's the number 5 Toyota leads this motor race. Anthony Davidson, Louise's husband. No, it's not, is it? It's Ant Davidson leads the race in the 5 Toyota ahead of Loic Duval in the number 8 Audi. Mark Lieb, astonishingly, up into 3rd position again. And that's a contact!
Oh, my goodness!
It's formation dancing now. Didn't see what started that. I was too busy looking at the timing screens. But I suspect there was contact there.
I'm not sure, Graham, if I'm honest.
That was the 44 car, yellow at turn 1, or was that just Tor Graves?
Right, well, it's the 13 Rebellion. It's Don Kreheimer involved in that, and he can't find reverse.
And the car,
he's right on the apex.
It's an awful place.
He's waiting for the marshals to tell him when he can go backwards.
Now, that might be a picture of Dom, but he's not smiling at the moment. That's a horrible place to end up.
Right, go. Now you can go. Now let's have a look at this.
I think he lost in the braking.
Comes down the inside.
No, he was collected by Tom Kreheimer.
And then tagged on the way through.
Actually,
so let's have a look at this again.
He was collected.
Oh dear me, it's another example of a P1 car. Fantastic piece of driving by... Who was that was spun around?
Tor Graves, great recovery.
Well, it was a fantastic piece of driving by Tor Graves because he locked the brakes up and then released them, so he rolled away from the apex of the corner. Right, there's damage to that car that Rebellion is going to have to come in.
There's damage to both cars, and there's bits falling off the Rebellion as Dodo Kreheimer recovers. That, by the way, has put Gustavo Menezes, completely innocent party in that, by the way, up into the lead of LMP2.
That was the leader in P2, yes, that was the point I was about to make.
So Menezes from Graves from Senna now, and Bruno Senna is getting quite close to this battle. Still work going on the number 6 car. That car's now fallen way down the order and is about to be relieved of 15th place by Ed Brown. 16th place should then fall to Simon Trummer. Wow.
And reports that the 38 hit the debris coming out of turn 1 following through from that accident out of La Source.
Second time we'll have had a Gibson affected by debris on track. The tyre pickup having been debris having been picked up by the striker.
This is the battle for second now in 7th rather in LMP. Oh no, you can't do that either.
That's Maurizio Mediani, wasn't it? Who knows better?
Drive through. That's going to be a drive through. He shortcut in and came the wrong side of the cone. And heads up driving again, because it would have been very easy for the car on the outside, which I think was Tor Graves again, wasn't it?
No, that was the 26 car.
The 26 car was Rusinov. Well, right, Rusinov did a great job there of not nailing.
Particularly when he knew he was fighting for position.
Yes, exactly.
Would have been a Russian driver on Russian car there.
I think it's all over for the number 6, fellas. Oh, see what High Enough knows. They look very sort of, well, we're not getting that going again.
Now,
second in GT Pro, getting warned for track limits Eau Rouge to Radillon. Leader in GT Pro is James Collado. There he is.
And pulling away over the past half hour or so, the 51. Meantime, we've got another class battle underway, and that's for LMP1 Privateer, because as a result of that long lap for Dom Kryhammer, Nelson Piquet Jr. now under 10 seconds back from his teammates. 13 car, of course, won last time out.
Maurizio Mediani has, surprise, surprise, been reported to the stewards for crossing the pit entry white line.
Not a surprise there, was it?
By quite a bit.
Yes.
Goal line technology not required to sort that one out.
Visual evidence.
Yes. So we've got pit stops starting to happen again with both Audi and Toyota Gazoo Racing mechanics are getting ready. Louise Beckett is down at Toyota. What are you seeing, Louise?
Well, they're not really making their life easy. They want to get the 6 out, I think, after they've had the 5 in for the pit stop, from what I can tell. But either way, both cars are going to be in at some point together.
In comes the 8.
That's Louise Toyota from the Beckett pit, by the way. In comes the 8 car from second.
In goes the drinks bottle.
And here is your leader. Oh, the 71 getting a second shout on the same lap for track limits. This time on the exit of Blanchimont. Driver Anthony Davison is out. He strolls across the pit lane.
That incident, by the way, at La Source cost Dominic Kryhammer something over a minute. It's about a minute and a half. And here comes, this is the 35 and the 45, not the lead battle.
This was a moment or two ago coming down the hill of Pau.
Problem for 35. That's a problem for the 35 car. That is for 10th, 11th position overall, 4th place in LMP2. Now, was that just some pickup and some muck with the 35 offline? 8 leaves, 5 pits.
I'm handing Graham another sheaf of stewards' decisions, which are some way behind what we've already reported, in fairness. It was Billy Johnson, by the way, who got the drive-through for the Ford first offence.
We got one that we actually haven't seen before, which is a €1,000 fine for the number 27 SMP Racing Team for unsafe release, with the mechanic still working on the car while the manager gave the order for the car to leave. Believed that the mechanic was allowed to leave the car somewhere around Les Combes. Car 86 gets another warning for track limits. Ben Parker aboard the car now.
Sorry, go ahead.
So number 2 car, that is the latest pit stopper, leaves the pits from 3rd position.
Remarkable. Remarkable. One still has the better part of a lap on Dom Kryhammer for the Rebellion to get on the podium.
Again.
They need to make up a lap in 2.5 hours.
Again. Because it would be a back-to-back podium for Rebellion if they managed it, and it was the same car last time as well.
At Silverstone?
At Silverstone.
Yes,
clearly didn't stand at the podium,
yes,
because we had the exclusion rather later. There's a podium finisher. Car 35 gets a drive-through penalty for pit stop infringement. 2 wheel guns for the backseat DC car. That is 5th overall. So 5th in P2 at the moment.
Hello, welcome to my first motor race. What is going on? These are experienced teams, Graham. This is not the first round of the series. It's not the first motor race of the year for these guys. Have they completely lost touch with reality here?
Still,
you can't do this with Le Mans round the corner.
No. I think there's going to be... Car 7 gets a drive-through penalty for that collision. That is the Andre Lotterer now pedalled car. But it wasn't Andre at the wheel, was it, when the car came in? It was Marcel Fessler.
It was Fessler. Let's hear what Kaz Nakajima is reporting from the number 5.
The track getting more and more greasy, comment from Anthony. Also comment from Anthony, the brakes getting a little bit weaker, brakes are a little bit weaker.
So it's greasier track and weaker brakes.
Spongy, the brakes are very spongy.
What a fantastic combination that must be when you're trying to get around the track at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, and thank them for that.
Yeah, lovely. That's increased his confidence levels no end.
Still didn't lift going through. Oh, no. My goodness, that does look like it's been speeded up.
He is going to make a fantastic Uber driver when he decides to finally hang up his helmet, isn't he?
Let's head down to the pit lane. We have got Loïc Duval with Louise.
Well, like we heard you warning Ollie it's going to be a tough one, and it certainly looks from you like it was.
Yeah, I mean, we are definitely out of the window. We are not able to make the car work, to be honest, properly, and we have really poor grip. On top of that, there is like few things which doesn't work as good as we wanted. So anyway, now the best thing now is to keep the car on track, to go until the checkered flag. But yeah, behind the steering, it's definitely not an easy one.
Okay, thank you.
Well, the massive frustration, of course, for Audi, and in particular for the 8 car that's not had the best of luck over the last season or so, is that they've not been able to take a biggest advantage they would have liked for a day when both Porsches hit problems. So we've had the number 1 car, which, by the way, is still in the garage, and I think you're right, John, we're getting to the stage where that is a hopeless cause now. But also an issue for the number 2 car with the hybrid system, but Audi have only got 1 car in a position where it could profit from that, and they appear to be unable to attack the leader at all. We're now a minute and 52 seconds is the gap from Nakajima to Ollie Jarvis. 2:03 plays actually Ollie taking just a smidge out of that last time around, but not able to do that over the longer run. So 2 hours, 20 minutes remain. Toyota from Audi from Porsche from Rebellion. 4 mates, 4 positions in LMP2, starting from the 6th position overall with the woes for, well, LMP1 cars various. Gustavo Menezes leads the race from Torgraves after Torgraves rudely assaulted by a Rebellion in the hands of Don Kleihammer just a few minutes ago. That's the 1-2, 36 Signatic Alpine from the 44 Manor WEC. Then comes Bruno Senna, who's had his own problems fairly recently in the 43 RBR Ligier. Then with Matt Rao in the 2nd, the Manor WEC cars, Andre Lotterer in the midst of that, coming back from delays in the 7 Audi. That's the top 10. In the GTE rankings, it's still the seemingly untouchable Ferraris. It's the 51 car ahead of the 71. James Collado ahead of Davide Rigon, teammates, of course, in the 71 car last year. Now split with James Collado joining Gianmaria Bruni for the Jimmy car ahead of the Sam and Dave 71. 18th, 19th and 20th position overall is the Ford. It's a 66 car with the 2 Fords very close together now. It's Stefan Mucker and Harry Tinknell. Car 86, meanwhile, I said they'd been warned before. The Gulf Porsche in the hands of Ben Barker at the moment in 30th position is going to have a drive-through, and has just done that, I believe. Final class to round up, it's GTM, 25th overall. Paul Dell'Anna is at the moment at the wheel of his 98 Aston Martin Vantage, ahead of Paolo Roberti in the 50 Corvette, second now, ahead of Rui Aguas. Now both Aguas and the Aston Martin have led this class, but Paolo Roberti is taking time out of the lead.
Yeah, the guys in the Ford are going to have to slow down a bit more in case they accidentally get on the overall podium here with the Ferraris. This is absolutely crazy. It's been a really odd sporting season, hasn't it? Already we've seen some odd results in football, soccer, certainly in the UK. And some bonkers ones to date in that as well. Masters Golf going the way of an underdog. Well, Toyota came here today, or this weekend. We said we thought they'd be closer, and through the free practices they looked stronger. But this has been, well, they've knocked it out of the park here, haven't they? Let's have a listen to the team radio on the 43.
So
Bruno?
this lap, driver change with Felipe. Think about a proper stop, the fuel pumps, and the belt.
So just the usual banter between the team and its driver there. Sun has come back out again. The threatening black cloud has headed off towards Liège.
Bruno Senna brings down the Silverstone winner down pit lane from third position in what's been a pretty hard-fought P2 battle.
They're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination yet, because let's not forget, with P2 you've got tyres to think about. They are very stingy on tyres in the P2 class, and double stinting is the order of the day to get through the race within your tyre allocation.
Out gets Bruno Senna, in gets Felipe Albuquerque. Across the line, meanwhile, goes the leader, 102 laps now.
Let's go to Kaz Nakajima, the advantage for Toyota in the middle section, 3 seconds quicker than the Audi.
Less traffic next to lap, less traffic next to lap, gap to Audi, 1 minute 50.
That is the instruction.
Put a lap on them.
Go and catch them. 2 minutes, .347 last time around for Kaz Nakajima. That's the kind of instruction. It's the length of the Kemmel straight between the two cars. Just saw the Audi disappear there. This to put a lap on the leader with over 2 hours to go. An astounding turnaround in Toyota's fortunes.
And the #1 car is not going to score points today. The Porsche has not come out the pits. It now will not be able to get enough laps to make 70% of the leaders.
Well, poetic stuff. I'm sure Todd Graves won't be thanked for the replay, though. Big lock-up at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Back now with the leader overall, and Kaz Nakajima has turned the button on the dashboard that says attack, attack, attack. Out comes the #1.
Too late.
Onto the apron comes the #1.
Too late. This is a test session now. They need to get, at this rate, we're going to get 166 laps, which means they need to get 117. They're on 52 at the moment.
That says an hour and 40 minutes in the pits for this car.
They're not going to make that back.
Mark Webber is at the wheel. We might see how quickly a Porsche can go around here in these conditions, mind you, but still.
They've been nearly 2 hours in the pits now. This has been the 4 hours of Spa for them. Little feet farm says...
Off to the 44 car. It's Todd Graves in trouble, I'm afraid.
Well,
second in P2.
Was that a remedial problem after the contact we saw early on?
Fires the car.
This is a turn.
No one else
coming down the hill at Bruxelles. I just wonder though if something broke on the car coming in to that. And he's in the gravel.
Trying to get it fired up.
The marshals...
Not deep gravel there.
No, the marshals are kind of looking at it as much as to say, I think you can get that out, son. And they were absolutely right.
And he does. Now, is that going to be enough? Because Matt Rao is next up. This is what we saw a little while ago. It's a big, big lock-up from... Now, has he got a braking problem, I wonder?
We saw in the slow-mo the car locking up and...
Huge, filthy marks on the side pod. So has that car been carrying a braking problem? It would explain it, wouldn't it? Roberto Merri there looking on with some interest. 5 goes through. Another lap in the 2 minutes. 3 seconds quicker than the number 8 Audi, and he has him very much in his sights. Meantime, we're getting close to a battle for position between the two rebellions. The 12 car has been catching the number 13, not that time around, but the gap now under 7 seconds. So 5 from 8 from 2. 13-12, your top 5. Both Fords on pit road. Regular stops for both the 4 GTs, 66 and 67 in that order. Stefan Mucker and Harry Tinknell pitted the cars. Under 4 seconds the gap between the two, and both inside the top 20. Well, sorry, the 66 car inside the top 20. Onto the jacks goes the 66. And 3.6 seconds later, so the 67 car follows. 4 laps now under the wheels of the leading Toyota, which you have to say, John, seems to be the only one of the 6 unhobbled, the only one. As we heard from what I would describe as an extremely downbeat. Look at the side pod of that car.
Well, I wonder if what we were seeing in that slow-mo wasn't a brake disc exploding on that car, or some kind of brake issue, and then he hasn't been able to get it stopped.
Well, it was an odd
Bruxelles, he's coming very, very slowly to his pit box.
That was the comp. Bruxelles, he had the spin at Bruxelles, but the...
Yes, but if that was not that long ago...
Yes.
And he's coming very, very slowly to the pits as if he wasn't sure about getting it stopped at all. He stopped short of his line. I think, look at the dirt on those calipers. Well, they're just tight. They're just checking the wheel nuts there. Because they
didn't take a wheel off.
They're just checking all the wheel nuts.
Maybe. Either way, Matt Rao has now gone through into second position in P2. So Gustavo Menezes and 36 leads. This is the leader in GTE Pro, James Collada in the 51 car. James moving over from the 71 squad last year to join Jimmy Bruni in this car. 21 seconds to the good ahead of the team car, 71 that won last time out. And now, astonishingly, Michael Christensen, although may owe us a pit stop, Michael Christensen up into 3rd position in a Porsche that, to be blunt, on pace has gone look nowhere. And yes, attention to the brakes on the 44 now. Car in the garage. See again, there you go. That's not right.
No, that's left. It's our right. No, I mean, that is excessive use of the brakes, isn't it? And then, you know, that is a corner later, not necessarily on the same lap, but if you're overheating the brakes to that extent coming into Le Combe, the next time you use them hard is at Bruxelles, and, you know, the brake caliper there is bright red, and normally you can see it through the wheel.
Nico Prost looking to see what he can do about Matteo Tuscia ahead. 8 seconds is the gap.
On board with Andrea Lotterer, has just about 3 laps to gain another position. Trying to work out who, I mean, as you said, Rebellion aren't in the manufacturer's hood, which is a shame because they'll be romping away with it by now.
The only issue here is they are, however, scored in the Drivers' Championships against both the P1 factory teams and the P2 teams. It is a prototype Drivers' Championship. So that's scored in pure finishing order. I should say, by the way, that the number 7 car up to 6th position overall, 4th, therefore, in the Manufacturers' Championship point standings. That will be valuable for them, with Mark Webber continuing to lap. Two for Ford's actually lapping in formation now.
Well, they are in 3rd and 4th position. Second consecutive podium in consecutive weeks for Ford.
Well,
I'd love to know how many tyres they've used. That was one of the things we needed to keep an eye on. I've got a feeling they've double stinted all the way through this, you know, again. As they did at Silverstone.
Kitty.
Well, they've got... he knows basically that he can arm wrestle anybody in that team. So when it comes to the inter-team arm wrestling competition to decide who wins at Le Mans, then his team's got a good chance.
Nose to tail with the 66 ahead of the 67. This is, by the way, 20th position overall, as well as a podium position in GT Pro.
This is more like the cars we were expecting to see from Ford at the beginning of the season. Looked pretty out of sorts at Daytona and Sebring. A little better on the streets of Long Beach, and then at Silverstone, and last weekend at Master Raceway Laguna Seca. These are the Fords we've been looking for. Notice the difference there, Graham. So he just changed up 3/4 of the way down the pit lane. They're running their Le Mans. They're running Le Mans gearing. He only changed up 3/4 of the way along the pit lane. He didn't run out of revs there.
It's not an American car with a kind of column shift, is it?
I think it's got one of those Jerry Bruckheimer gearboxes where every time you want to go faster, you just dip the clutch and move the lever.
Absolutely.
Again. That's it. That's remarkable. He was still pulling and changed up 3/4 of the way along the Kebble Straight. Brilliant. They are not pushing those cars at all, are they? Down 2. Saw the blue light there. Blue light on the left. That doesn't mean there's a police car coming up behind you, obviously. It means that there's a faster vehicle.
Just keeping an eye on this for a moment. That's a change for the lead in GT Pro, and
that's because Colado's in the pits.
But they've always, until this point, come in together, John.
Well, Colado's come in.
That should be Bruni leaving the pits.
And Bruni's already installed. So this time, Sam and Dave's car's gone a lap longer.
So we'll keep an eye on that one. It does seem, doesn't it? It's got the pace and it's got the economy. Through come the Fords.
Right, I want to go back to Little Feet Farm because we had a crash when I was trying to answer the question on aero package, and a number of people saying, do aero packages have to be homologated? Yes.
Yes, they do.
Normally, in previous seasons, for LMP1, it's been 2 packages. Right, hang on, I just want to pause this a moment. Have a listen to this again. So he didn't change down at the bottom of Eau Rouge in the same gear. Still pulling revs. Change. Extraordinary. It's one way to slow the cars down, of course.
Down 3.
Right, let's go back to the aero. A couple of people asking about the aero package, particularly as it pertains to the guys at Toyota.
Oh.
Yes, you do have to homologate the packages as the number 7 car of Andre Lotterig goes the shorter distance through the chicane. Thus far, Toyota have only used one aero package.
Correct.